Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is September 25th, 2020. It's a Friday, which means we're going to do a weekly roundup of news. A lot has happened this week. We're going to cover the riots in Louisville.
I don't even know.
Which we are really close to. I mean, reasonably.
Yeah.
Like, we know Louisville. We know the town.
Louisville.
You know, we know, we're close enough to know it's pronounced Louisville. Louisville.
Uh-huh.
Everybody in the UK on Sunday shows always trying to get us to get our act together and saying, you know, certain words.
Town's named right. Yeah.
Louisville. Yes, it's pronounced Louis or Louisville. It's pronounced Louisville.
All right, guys. I don't even know where to start because this week,
where's Hunter? I want to be like Trump. Be like, where's Hunter?
This week we have seen every day, not one bombshell, not two bombshells, but 3 or 4 or 5, 6 bombshells. We're gonna have a nuclear bomb go off tomorrow, and I'm telling you ahead of time.
Oh my gosh.
What is gonna happen when Trump?
There is no nuclear bomb going off.
When Trump releases his nominee, no matter who she is, we have, you know, a good idea of who she's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go over Amy Coney Barret for you guys today, just to give you an idea. So I don't think I'll be able to do a show on her tomorrow. A nuclear bomb is going to drop like when her name drops. And if you guys can't see the allegory there, I can't help you. Okay, we're not literalists on this show.
Even though we use the word literally far too often.
Yeah. So Michelle's friends, she said, you know, she has a friend who gave her child some French fries from McDonald's for the first time, and he was born in like December. And Michelle says, it's not a big deal, but I do want you, I'm not worried about the nutrition and everything like that, you know, whatever, it's one off, but like they literally put crack cocaine in their food. And Michelle was like, they were like, Michelle, I'm sure there's addictive ingredients in there, but I don't think there's real crack cocaine. And Michelle's like,
I'm sure it sounds, but they should know me better than that. When I'm like, dude, they literally put crack cocaine in their food. Like, I know that they do.
Why would you take my literal? Come on. All right. So I'm literally going to do the best that I can to go over so many, you know how we cover some of the deep stuff about like the Durham investigation, Flynn, FBI text messages, and it can all become one big hodgepodge of I don't even know who these people are anymore and what they're doing and who's in the deep state doing what. I'm going to do my best today to break down the deep state bombshells that came out this week, including some new FBI text messages. But first off, I'm gonna do a palette teaser, okay? Because this doesn't have any ramifications as of yet, and I really hate to come forward with like
share it on Facebook, like
John Durham is doing this, John Durham is doing that. I don't want to get your hopes up because I don't have a lot of faith in John Durham. Okay, I know the Q people do, and indictments are going to drop, and this and that, and this and that.
Right.
And then you're going to come back and say, Leah, I thought you said this was going to happen. I thought you said that was going to happen. But I do believe it would be negligent on my part to not report that John Durham has assumed part of John Hoover's Clinton Foundation review. So he is actually going after, he's going over the Clinton Foundation. I don't know if he's going to go after them or not. I don't have any faith in him to go after the Clinton Foundation.
If he values his life, he won't.
So aspects of U.S. Attorney John Hoover's investigation into the Clinton Foundation, which we had a lot of hope for, and nothing burger, have been assumed by the U.S. Attorney John Durham. He's got this wide berth to investigate the investigators, and a part of this, I guess, is the Clinton Foundation here, and a part of his review into the origins of the Russia probe. So a source familiar with Durham's investigation told Fox News on Thursday that parts of what Hoover was investigating in 2017 involving the Clinton Foundation, which we covered and we thought, you know, we had some high hopes, have been incorporated into Durham's investigation. In November 2017, then Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who was not a hero, who literally was doing nothing about nothing.
Literally.
And I'm glad that he is not going to be in the U.S. Senate, and I do not feel bad for him because he actually, under his watch, we're here today with the Russian probe and everything.
It's unbelievable.
It's his fault. It's his fault. Well, no, complicit. He's
You
complicit.
can't put it all on that guy. I mean, there's a lot of people
He's complicit. He could have stopped it.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So then Attorney General Jeff Sessions directed Huber, the U.S. Attorney for Utah, and other senior prosecutors to evaluate certain issues involving the sale of Uranium-1. Remember, we covered that ad nauseum.
Yes,
and other dealings related to the Clinton Foundation. Sessions tapped Huber after request by congressional Republicans who had been calling for an appointment of a special counsel to review the matters. Huber was also tasked with reviewing the FBI's handling of the Clinton email probe, including allegations that the Justice Department and FBI's policies or procedures were not followed. It has been unclear for years the status of this Huber investigation. John Solomon reports about it. Where's it going? But another source told Fox News Thursday that Huber has faced mounting criticism from the Justice Department and White House over his non-progress. I'm going to say that. There are folks that are aware of the fact that Huber has not done much.
Right.
And there has been criticism at the Justice Department and the White House, the source said, folks that have been concerned about what he did or didn't do. And many of them feel that Huber did not dig deep enough or work hard enough. Certainly not what they did to Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The source added that many are very concerned about why there hadn't been more done. The New York Times on Thursday first reported that Durham has focused attention on the Clintons and said that Durham has sought documents and interviews about how federal law enforcement officials handled an investigation into allegations of political corruption at the Clinton Foundation. We're talking here that you've got Steve Bannon indicted on some probes over some misuse of funds, possible misuse of funds with the Build the Wall. But what went through the Clinton Foundation were millions and millions of dollars while she's Secretary of State, able to do favors for these big governments. And then when she's not president, the Clinton Foundation is just dried up.
Conveniently, Bill was getting a lot of speeches and stuff like that for countries that she just so happened to be doing deals with.
Exactly. So Durham's timeline has been focused on July 2016, when the FBI's original Russia probe began, through the appointment of Mueller. In May 2017, Durham's investigation has been slowed by the coronavirus pandemic, but that has not blunted the level of anticipation from President Trump, his Republican allies on Capitol Hill, and his supporters, some of which who have called for findings to be released before the November election. So I don't know where this is going to go. We had earlier this month, you had Lindsey Graham hinted that developments in Durham's investigation were on the horizon. This was after
I feel like it's cheese, though. It's like they're just like dangling it in front of us.
I think good things are going to start happening and just fall into place, though. I
think so too.
I think so too. This was after newly released Justice Department records showed numerous phones belonging to members of former Special Counsel Robert Mueller. We talked about this.
The 30
wiped. I think it was 21. I don't know how many. It was more. If it's more than one, we got a problem. Okay. I know it was 17. They went to like 21 devices. Cell phones were wiped of information because of quote unquote forgotten passwords. So you got to hand over your phone. And as an FBI phone, if you put in too many wrong passwords to keep the wrong people getting into it, then it wipes itself. So you got 17, 21 guys forgot their passwords, and then just kept knowing that it would wipe their phones. Just kept putting in wrong passwords.
You know, it reminds me of like in class. Okay, let's say there's a class of 25 students, and they all take the same test. Okay,
and they all get
same right answers and all the same wrong answers, and the teacher's going, and they're like, you can't prove it. Can't prove it.
Irreparable screen damage, just losing the device, intentional deletion, or other reasons. You think you are mad about the phones being wiped, Graham said. Stay tuned. He said, we'll talk about it in 10 or 12 days, and we'll see if there's something else you can get mad about. The investigation, and then we have only one tiny little charge so far with Kevin Kleinsmith. So we'll see where this is going to end up. All right. So on to,
I don't have anything. I don't see anything wrong with giving people hope.
Okay, have hope. I hope so. All right. New FBI texts show that, and I don't want to get this wrong, so let me just get some of the reporters who have been reporting on this, but the gist that I get from it is that from behind the scenes, not everybody was on board with the Russia investigation, and especially Crossfire Razor against Flynn, that several people in the agency bought insurance in case they were to get sued over this.
No, they didn't.
They did.
You can do that?
I didn't know you could professional liability insurance.
Apparently you can get insurance for anything.
Professional liability insurance. And there are texts going back and forth. Yeah, everybody in the agency has insurance. Don't you have the insurance?
Hang on though.
Wait a minute. What insurance? Wait a minute.
Hang on though, because you know what? There are things that are more important than money. Is there like don't go to jail insurance you can buy?
Yeah, I don't know. And
I want to know if there's don't go to jail insurance.
You have some of the agents like relieved when the crossfire investigation was shut down. I'm so relieved. It says that. I'm not involved in this right now anymore. This is crazy. You guys are pushing this too hard. And then Strzok immediately opens up again. And there are agents who are not all on the board. They're not all deep state.
Right.
Some of them just are legit FBI agents who are just literally just doing a job.
That have insurance.
Well, some have insurance and other people don't have insurance. They're like, what's going on? So
I would not be worried about being sued. I would be worried about wearing a orange suit.
Yeah. Well, I think some of it was, for legal fees in case you were caught in that position. Right?
Yeah. That's good. So we're gonna listen to Tucker.
We're gonna read an article and we're gonna listen to Tucker explain the FBI texts show this agency is totally out of control behind the scenes here. Totally and completely out of control.
When it finally plays. There it comes.
No, it's not coming.
It's right there. Wasn't it in there?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I banged.
You're gonna have to go over and actually.
No, it was on just a second ago.
Let's fight about it.
We're gonna turn our volume on. You turn it on, and I'm going to bring up my article.
I can't really. Okay,
just hold the button longer than I can hold the button.
This is why you guys come here, for all the in between stuff that you can't get anywhere else on any other show. Because are there any other sisters that have a show? Oh, Diamond and Silk. Outside of Diamond and Silk, but why are they so famous? Because they're sisters, and there's a.
You have to shush when it actually works.
Doing all this selection research, I think some of these guys want a Clinton presidency. You think? Later, another FBI employee wrote this, quote, "Trump was right. What is wrong with these people? The probe was so obviously corrupt
Trump was
that
right.
FBI
What is wrong
officials
with these
discussed
people?
getting, quote, professional liability insurance to protect them from the consequences of their corruption." Separately, Fox News has learned today that the primary source of the anti-Trump Steele dossier published by BuzzFeed was under an FBI investigation as a possible national security threat for...
I actually forgot to tell you this. Not forgot, but this is it. There's two stories.
Tell them.
Well, I want to interject. Because
interject Tucker.
Well, I'm putting two. I want you to know that we're talking about two separate things right now. We're talking about the FBI text messages, but then the Senate Judiciary Committee finally came out with their findings on Hunter Biden. So I want you to know we're going there.
Going there. We are going there.
But then.
And we've been to Moscow in real life.
It has already come out that Christopher Steele was actually being investigated as a Russian spy or a spy of some sort for the Russians.
Or suspected contact with Russian intelligence officers. The irony, it's just unbelievable. Sean Davis has been parsing these details for years now. He's co-founder of The Federalist, and he joins us tonight to sort them out. Sean,
he looks like a happy chap.
What have we learned today?
Happy chappy.
Wow, we've learned a lot today. The first is that the corruption at the FBI and how they conducted their anti-Trump jihad was so bad that FBI agents were purchasing for themselves, using your money and my money, by the way, as taxpayers, purchasing liability insurance for when people finally found out how corrupt their activities were. We also learned that the original case against Flynn, the investigation, was closed on Election Day. They were ordered to close it on Election Day 2016 and only open it up afterwards, which is just shocking. And in these texts, we also learned from these agents, who remain unnamed, unfortunately, that they found nothing on Flynn. They even used national security letters to avoid subpoenas in order to get to his financial records. And they said there's nothing there. And in fact, the guy who was running the whole thing, who's also unnamed, was obsessed with rabbit holes and conspiracy theories, and his scope was absolutely beyond logic.
So this kind of, I've been wondering for months now, the FBI is more powerful than, say, the Kenosha Police Department, but BLM never criticizes the FBI. Maybe this is why?
Maybe it is. It's shocking. I'm a bit cynical, having looked at this stuff for years. But even being a cynic, this behavior shocked me. And, we're told it was only the leadership who was doing kind of bad things. The rank and file are good. These were rank and file agents talking about this. And where were the whistleblowers? And why are we learning about this 3 years after Chris Wray took over the FBI? Why are we having to learn about this from a court case? Why was this not disclosed to Congress? And it's a complete disgrace that it's taken this long to get any real information about it.
Has there been meaningful reform within the FBI? You've got to hope there has been. Do you think there has been?
If there has been, I haven't seen it. I actually think the best reform you can have is putting people in prison for their crimes on this. And to date, we've seen one person, based on a case not brought by Durham, but brought by the OIG with facts that he found. One person has been indicted and pleaded guilty to this. One person in that entire building. So until we actually see people indicted and go to prison for what we know are crimes, no, I don't think any reform they do matters whatsoever.
You mentioned the word Durham. We're almost out of time, but I just got to ask, whatever happened to that? The Durham investigation?
That's a great question. I'd like to know. He's been working on this for about 2 years. The Attorney General, Bill Barr, assured us and the president that he was going to look at it and we were going to learn what happened before the election. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any indictments other than the one of the FBI lawyer. And I hope Bill Barr understands that if nothing happens,
they send a lawyer to jail.
It's not going to be Durham that people hold responsible. It's going to be Bill Barr because he's the one who picked him. He's the one who assured us and the president that he would take care of this, and nothing's happened.
Let's do it.
I'm starting to feel a little fooled. Are you?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Sean Davis, not an easy man to fool. I appreciate your coming on tonight.
So let me dive right into this a little bit now. There are calls all over social media to fire Chris Wray. Now, if you guys haven't been following, and I'm sure that, you know, in your busy life, you don't follow a man named Richard Grinnell. We
talk about him on the show.
He is a gay man. The first gay man, I guess, appointed to any high up position by the president. He was director of national intelligence for acting director. And then now we have John Ratcliffe, who should be, you know, he's a good dude. I'm sure he's doing some really good things there. Mm-hmm. But, and he is in charge of getting a lot of this stuff out. But there are calls to put Richard Grinnell in where Christopher Wray is, in head of the FBI. Christopher Wray is still running the anti-Trump brigade.
Wow.
He is.
But he was appointed by Trump?
He filled the position. I think he was like next in line after Coney was fired, and nobody. It was, you know, Rod Rosenstein had to finally resign, and Christopher Wray is now the head of the FBI. He's still running point for the Mueller sect, the deep state.
Right. Hey ho.
And Donald Trump is designating. Today he designated both the KKK and Antifa as terrorist groups.
I thought Antifa was already labeled as an Antifa.
Christopher Wray has come out and said that Antifa is an ideology, but not necessarily an organization or organized in any way.
Really? Because that U-Haul that unloaded a bunch of stuff in Louisville?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of looks organized
that no one's funding. Bill Barr,
there's no links to Act Blue.
Bill Barr and Rand Paul have come out and said that Antifa is funded. They have the phone calls. They have to know that, for Christopher Wray to know that Bill Barr is onto Antifa and these messages, and for him to come out and say the opposite, that shows another internal feud.
But it also shows that I think he's trying to cover his hiney from the people that actually could get him whacked off.
He's also saying that there is no widespread mail-in ballot or absentee ballot fraud and not to worry about it. Christopher Wray is deep state. Let me just put that out there.
All right. He's got to go. Bye-bye, Ray.
Yeah. No, bye-bye, Ray. So where am I? I'm going to go. I'm right here.
You're here in the Resistance Chick studio.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Get Trump. FBI whistleblower on Mueller team details real reason Flynn was targeted. The case agent managing the FBI's investigation of Flynn told Department of Justice attorneys that a desire to get Trump was a major factor underlying the case against Flynn. Where's Durham? Where's Bill Barr? In a stunning and detailed interview conducted September 17th by U.S. Attorney Jeff Jensen, the FBI case against the agent for the original investigation of former White House National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, and who later worked on Robert Mueller's special counsel, blew the whistle on myriad problems that plagued those investigations from the very beginning. FBI Special Agent William Barnett told DOJ investigators that the handling of the probes troubled him so much that he threatened to quit working on it in one case and threatened to go to the inspector general in another. Wow. According to the summary of Barnett's interview, he said there was never any basis for the bizarre collusion theory the agency and the special counsel relentlessly pursued, to the point that agents made jokes about how they could take any piece of information and claim it was evidence of collusion. He said the special counsel office pursued Flynn simply as a means to get Trump, and viewed FBI investigators as a speed bump, slowing down the work of the attorneys leading the inquisition. The broader Trump investigation was opaque. The case theory was supposition upon supposition, and the Flynn probe in particular was unclear and disorganized, and its predicate was not great. Barnett told investigators, according to the interview notes, he felt there was little detail concerning specific evidence of criminal events. When Barnett was first placed on the case in 2016, he said he assumed he'd have a better understanding of why the investigation into the Trump campaign was launched, as he read through the evidence. But after being involved, and I quote, in the investigation for 6 weeks, Barnett was still unsure of the basis of the investigation concerning Russia and the Trump campaign working together, without a specific criminal allegation. Much was made over the National Republican Convention platform amending a proposed change in support of lethal assistance to Ukraine to appropriate assistance. While some at the FBI attempted to claim this was a sign of collusion with Russia, he characterized the theory as groping. After moving in 2016 to close the Flynn investigation for complete lack of any evidence of wrongdoing, Barnett was instructed in early 2017 to keep it open and investigate Flynn for the Logan Act, which no one has ever been it's never been used. Never, ever been used. The FBI didn't even have a code for the Logan Act. It's a centuries-old law prohibiting private citizens from corresponding with foreign governments. Remember, you have John Kerry working with Iran. You have many leaders, especially foreign ones, retired ones, working with foreign governments. Flynn was not a private citizen, but the incoming national security advisor for the president when he made phone calls with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. He's supposed to be doing this. So even if the law were deemed constitutional, it would not have even applied to Flynn. Barnett had to research the Logan Act as he was unfamiliar with it, but did not see the Logan Act as a serious standalone charge. When Barnett pushed for a closing interview with Flynn in 2016 as part of the normal procedure for closing cases that were going nowhere, he was rebuffed. But when the FBI later interviewed Flynn, falsely conveying to Flynn that he was actually not a target, they lied to him, and not in danger of walking into a perjury trap, Barnett was cut out of it. He was cut out. He was not allowed to be on that interview. January 24th, 2017. That was an ambush interview with Flynn, and he was not informed of its existence until after it was already conducted. Typically, a line agent and a case agent would do the interview with a senior FBI official present in cases concerning high-ranking political officials. The summary of Barnett's interview noted, while Barnett at first thought the unusual move was part of an effort to close the investigation, he later realized otherwise. It was not only it was not the only time the case agent was cut out of the unusual activity going on in the probe to target Flynn. Neither Barnett nor any other line agents were invited to attend meetings about the Flynn investigation, which was changed to being conducted from the top down, meaning direction concerning the investigation was coming from the senior officials. Okay. You had Coney and McCabe. Okay. So he noted that former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe was personally directing the Flynn investigation. McCabe was later fired for repeatedly lying under oath, which he should be in prison for, about his leaks to the media. Remember, they tried to put Roger Stone in prison for this guy. McCabe was lying on purpose. McCabe was referred for criminal investigation by Inspector General Michael Horowitz, and it just kind of hasn't gone anywhere that we know of.
So Amy must have missed who Barnett is, and she was asking.
Okay, Barnett is one of the men who was one of the FBI agents tasked with the Flynn investigation, and he blew the whistle. He
kind of found it out to be a big nothing burger.
Yeah. Barnett was willing to follow instructions being given by the deputy director as long as it was not a violation of the law. During the interview, Barnett also revealed how the FBI used high-level criminal leaks to advance the agency's investigation into Trump-related charges. Text released yesterday this was a couple days ago, showed FBI employees sarcastically pretending to care about the criminal leak of phone calls between Flynn and Kislak to David Ignatius of the Washington Post and a reporter at the Wall Street Journal.
Wow.
Employees surmised that the leaks came from high-level officials at the White House. The FBI was reacting to articles being reported in the news, most notably an article written by Ignatius concerning Redacted involving Flynn to a Russian ambassador, Barnett told investigators. By February 2017, Barnett told his unit chief that he wanted removed from the case. According to the document detailing his interview, Barnett told investigators the Flynn investigation was problematic and could result in an IG investigation into them.
Meaning, like, I don't want any part of this.
Barnett relayed how uncomfortable he was with aspects of the case, but said that it's oversight by FBI. And I really think that this probably is coming out because if you're going to be a whistleblower, then you're going to be on the outside. If you're feeling the heat of the fire, you want to get out of the house.
Yeah.
And I believe this could be, this is a clue that there is fire in the house. And he wants out. He wants to make sure I'm not part of this.
Right. But that was back in 2017.
No, he's talking about this was this year.
Right. But I'm just saying he was trying to get out in 2017.
Yeah, exactly. Barnett relayed how comfortable he was with the aspects of the case, but he said that its oversight by FBI attorneys and top FBI officials led him to assume at the time that the investigation was not illegal. But he doesn't assume that anymore. Okay. While Barnett questioned the investigative theory, he did not think at the time the investigation was illegal, particularly due to the oversight by the attorneys like Kleinsmith, who actually is being indicted. Okay. And the direction being given by top FBI officials. Kevin Kleinsmith, we know he fabricated evidence against,
and I'm hoping that Kleinsmith will be a whistleblower in all of this to get some time off. He has to be. We covered that like months ago.
An analyst who was very skeptical of the Flynn collusion investigation was removed from the Flynn investigation, Barnett said, referring to the factual and legal basis for the ongoing Flynn investigation. Barnett, you got to be on the page or you're gone, right? Let's see. Barnett added that he also thought it was a dumb theory that did not make any sense. So I want to move on. I want to talk to you about
oh my gosh, you have so many tabs up.
It's okay. Trump was right. Explosive new FBI texts detail internal furor over handling of the Crossfire hurricane investigation. So here are some of the texts. So we know the FBI agents tasked by fired former director James Comey to take down Trump during and after the 2016 election were so concerned about the agent's potentially illegal behavior that they purchased liability insurance to protect themselves less than 2 weeks before Trump was inaugurated. Previously hidden FBI text messages. This is what's so important. Ray has them. He had them. He said he would clean up the FBI. He knew that it went crazy. The FOIA and all that stuff. You know, the FOIA judge is saying, I can't even trust the FBI anymore. You're lying to me. Right. Ray says, I'll take care of it. He's not taking care of it. This came out through a court case. Okay. So here we have some text messages coming out. The explosive new communications and the internal FBI notes were disclosed in federal court filings this week from Sidney Powell, who is the attorney for Flynn. And here's the thing. Judge Sullivan, thank you. Because the longer you kept this case going with Michael Flynn, the more she's getting in discovery.
Right.
Okay? She's reeling. I got an interview with Lou Dobbs. She says, I'll take this to the Supreme Court. We're going to the Supreme Court if you need to keep doing this.
Let's go.
Right?
Let's do it.
We all went and purchased, here's a quote. We all went and purchased professional liability insurance, one agent texted January 10th, 2017, the same day CNN leaked details that the then president-elect had been briefed by Comey about the bogus Christopher Steele dossier. That briefing of Trump was used as a pretext to legitimize the debunked dossier, which was funded by the DNC. The agent says, holy crud. All the analysts too? ? Yep, the first agent said. All the folks of the agency as well. Agent responds, can I ask who are the most likely litigators as far as potentially suing y'all? Like, literally, quote, y'all. Ha ha, who knows? I think the concern when we got it was that there was a big leak at DOJ and the New York Times, among others, was going to do a piece. While the names of the agents responsible for the text are redacted, The legal filing from Sidney Powell, quoting communications from the DOJ, states that the latest document production included handwritten notes and text from Strzok, McCabe, Page, and the FBI analysts who worked on FBI's investigation of Flynn. Agents also said that they were worried about how a new attorney general might view the actions taken against Trump during the investigation. Shortly after, then Senator Jeff Sessions was confirmed to be Trump's new attorney general, congressional Democrats, media, and Obama holdovers within the DOJ immediately moved to force Sessions to recuse himself. The new AG might have some questions, then yada, yada, yada. We all get messed over. Well, the FBI agents also disclosed how the investigation's leadership was consumed with conspiracy theories rather than evidence. I'm telling man, if this thing ever gets FOIA'd, there's going to be some tough questions asked, one agent wrote, and a great deal of those will be related to Brian having a scope way outside the boundaries of logic. So we got an Alex Jones on steroids in the FBI, and everybody be like, you're going to get us all put in jail. You and your tinfoil hat. Redacted is one of the worst offenders of the rabbit holes and conspiracy theories, an agent texted.
Oh my gosh.
This guy traveled with that guy who put down third guy as his visa sponsor. Third guy lives near a naval base, therefore, ... That's his line of thinking, these rabbit holes.
Oh my gosh.
And the sky was blue on the day that the tree grew the leaves,
Right,
and then the
right,
grass
right,
grew,
right,
and
right.
now the guy is mowing the lawn is a Russian agent. Can you see how I put that all together?
That's really good.
Several texts show that the order to close the criminal investigation against Flynn came as early as the election in 2016. We have some loose ends to tie up, and we all need to meet to discuss what to do with each case. He said to shut down Razor. One agent texted, referring to Crossfire Razor. So glad they're closing down Razor, the agent responded. The new disclosures made by the DOJ also show that the FBI used so-called national security letters to spy on Flynn's finances. Unlike traditional subpoenas, which require judicial review and approval before authorities can seize an innocent person's property information, these national security letters are never independently reviewed by courts. One of the agents noted in a text message that these national security letters were just being used as a pretext by FBI leadership to buy time to find dirt on Flynn after the investigation of him yielded no derogatory
Everything
evidence.
was done to buy time. They kept trying to buy time. You can only buy time for so long.
And I quote, an agent says, the decision to NSL finances for Razor bought him time, one agent said, nearly 2 weeks after the initial order to shut down the anti-Flynn case. It is not known to whom the agent was referring to in that text. Well, what do we expect to get from these NSLs? An agent texted on December 5th, 2016. We put out traces, tripwires to community, and we ain't got nothing. Bingo, said another FBI agent. So what's an NSL going to do? No content. Ha ha ha. This is a nightmare.
No wonder y'all wanted that insurance.
If we're working to close down the cases, I'm not sure what the NSL results are going to do to help. Exactly. That makes no sense.
Another agent wrote back. That's not Leah saying that.
No, I know that the explosive new text messages also show agents believe the investigation was being run by FBI officials who were in the tank for Hillary Clinton. Doing all this election research, I think some of these guys want Clinton presidency. One agent wrote on August 11th, shortly after the FBI opened the Crossfire Hurricane investigation against Trump. And one series of texts sent the same day as the infamous January 5th Oval Office meeting between Obama, Biden, Coney, Sally Yates, and Susan Rice. One agent admits that Trump was right when he tweeted that the FBI was delaying his briefings as incoming president so they could cook up evidence against him. Lordy, have mercy on my soul. We're here 4 years later. And this is all coming out finally. And you know what? Thank God sometimes for technology. Because if they had just been talking to each other.
Like old-fashioned?
Like old-fashioned?
Ride your horse to someone's house?
Yeah. Yeah, ride your horse to someone's house. As the Federalist first reported last May, that January 5th meeting was the key to understanding the entire anti-Trump operation run out of Obama's FBI, with Obama at the top. Obama working to take down Trump. And their first linchpin was Flynn, because guys, Flynn was going to stop the Indus Wars. He was actually a Democrat who he kind of flipped because he could see what Obama was doing. The intelligence briefing, here's Trump, ready? The intelligence briefing on so-called Russia hacking was delayed until Friday, perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange. That was January 3rd, 2017. Okay, here is an agent who wrote...
These are more texts here
on January 5th. Yeah. So Razor is going to stay open? Yep.
Question mark, question mark, question mark.
Another FBI responded. Crimes report being drafted. F. The first agent wrote back. You can fill that in. It's probably the beginning of a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the word on how Obama's briefing went? One agent said, referring to the January 5th meeting. Don't know, but people are scrambling for info to support certain things. And it's a madhouse. It's a madhouse. We have got to get Trump out of there. Do you understand the stuff that we have set up? We've got to get Trump out. Jesus. And I don't think he was praying. I think that went along with the F before. One agent wrote back, Trump was right. Still not put together. Why do we do this to ourselves? What is wrong with these people?
I love these texts. What is wrong with these people? We're in this agency together, but none of these people that had these phones came out with these sentiments like, I've been saying it the whole time. I gotta tell you, I felt like it was weird. They all just like literally stuck their heads under their pillows and said, please don't come find me. Please don't come find me.
A week later, the FBI agents also wrote that they suspected that the illegal leak of top secret information about Flynn's phone call with Russian ambassador to the U.S. Sergei Kislyak to the news media came directly from the White House. His name is Obama. FYI, someone leaked the Flynn calls with Kislyak to the Wall Street Journal. I'm sorry to hear that. Another FBI agent responded sarcastically. I'll resume my duties as chief morale officer and rectify that. Published this morning by Ignatius, the agent said, referencing the January 12th column from Washington Post writer David Ignatius. It's going to be someone on the staff, the presidential or White House seniors. To date, not a single person has been charged with illegally leaking that information to the Washington Post. Following a review of the federal government's investigation by Attorney General Jeff Jensen, which was ordered by Attorney General William Barr, the government moved to dismiss all charges against Flynn. Remember this? Because they were like, oh, this is bad.
It's bad.
But Sullivan, the judge, is still hanging on and won't let go, because there is a deep state thing happening here, guys, that you guys... It is so deep. It is so deep. Now let me play for
Okay, so let me get to real quick here. Stuart Britt in the chat is obviously from the UK and wholly disappointed with Trump and the fact that nothing has happened yet. So I would say this.
Nothing has happened yet with what?
With like prosecuting these people.
How can you be how in the world can you be mad at Trump?
When they call it the deep state, I don't think have you ever tried to get a tree stump out? You ever got one that had a taproot in it? Okay? And you can hack off all of these other things that you want. And that thing won't budge. And you are digging and you are hacking and you are digging and you are hacking. And it goes so far down that you sometimes, like, if you're a girl like us, sit down and want to cry. Because I've been working on this for 5 days, this one tree stump. Okay? That has happened to us. Before we had machinery or cars to help pull it out, right? I mean, it's deep. The tentacles, the vines, where it spreads, it is so far embedded and ingrained. You can't just like come in with a chainsaw and whack it off and just say, oh, now we got them. Like, it does not work that way.
Right, and it's actually more than that. But we have 3 branches of government. That's what we call the deep state. That's why I mentioned Christopher Wray. If we had everybody in position, in good people in the FBI and in the DOJ and good investigators, if we had equally with the same tenacity that the Mueller team went after Trump to go after the investigators, everybody would be locked up. Trump is not allowed. Trump's not a lawyer. He's not head of the DOJ. He's not head of the FBI. We have these branches, and they're not even branches of the government, by the way. The FBI isn't a branch of the government. It's and so Trump got the investigation started against him because he fired Coney. Okay, and then IG was a special investigation. I mean, was done. So
the best way I can explain it is when you're playing a game, right, and you're on, like, if they are like come out hammering you, he has spent the last 3 years in defense mode.
Yeah,
and we just got to where we can now start going on the offense.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But when they keep hammering you and you're constantly having to hold up your shield and fight all the volleys that are being hurled, you can't exactly make forward moving progress.
Right.
What he did do, though, is fulfill more promises than he made, including all the promises that he made, except for throwing Hillary Clinton in jail, which was not a promise, by the way.
Yeah, so when you have this
he was busy running the country,
this kind of media against you, remember this? This was when they were saying that that the walls were closing in around Trump. Do you remember that? The media was running point, and the world believed that Trump was this Russian agent. And Trump is actually fortunate to even be president today because they tried to impeach him. They tried to do the Mueller investigation. It's absolutely
no president has ever been attacked by every branch of government, by every media agency, by all non-branches of government agencies,
historically bad,
like this president. Not one.
Was a turning point.
And we're still winning.
The beginning of the end for the Trump presidency.
The beginning of the end.
And breaking news.
We have another bombshell.
Mike Pence might have to assume the office of the presidency.
The call for impeachment.
Rumblings of the word impeachment.
Breaking news.
Another bombshell out of the White House.
I believe this is the beginning of the end.
I do too.
It's really the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
He may be feeling the walls closing in on him.
All the walls closing in on him.
The walls closing in on him.
Breaking news, a new bombshell.
One astrologer says this means the beginning of the end for President Donald Trump.
The beginning of the end of the Trump presidency. Trump will resign.
Trump is going to resign.
Is this the tipping point? I know we've said it over and over.
You think this is a tipping point?
And over and over.
This is a tipping point.
And over and over.
Breaking news, President Trump off the rails.
There's a beginning of the end today.
The beginning of the end.
It reminds me a lot of the last days of Nixon.
Breaking news tonight, new bombshell.
This is the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
The walls are closing in.
The walls closing in.
The walls closing in.
Breaking overnight bombshell.
This is a very dramatic day, and I think it might be near a tipping point. Do you think this is a tipping point?
This is unbelievable. This is remarkable. Have you ever seen anything like this?
His presidency is crippled.
December 1st, 2017, you can mark it down. This is the day that everything changed.
We begin with the bombshell.
The beginning of the end?
The beginning of the end.
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 In fact, if this were a football
It's
game,
unbelievable.
we're
If you guys are just listening, we're going through dates.
We begin tonight with
Okay, we've gone, through all the months of the 2017. Now we're in 2018 February.
This is a tipping point.
Trump's going down.
This president could be impeached.
I do not think the president will serve out his term.
Resignation. I don't think this president is going to serve out his term.
Mr. Trump will not serve out his term.
He will not serve out his term.
No way, no how. Breaking news, an absolute bombshell.
I think Donald Trump is in trouble.
Donald Trump is not. He's done. And it's over. It's over.
The walls closing in.
The walls closing in.
This is going to be the Achilles heel.
Breaking news tonight. I expect Trump to depart.
So that goes on and on and on and on and on. But when we bring you these bombshells, they're actually legit. Like, we're actually reading the text.
Right.
There was nothing against Trump. There was no proof. There was nothing. We talked about that. They were pulling things out of thin air. The FBI agent was like, I tried to get where they're coming from, but I'm reading. I'm reading this evidence, and they're nothing here.
You said they were joking about how they could pull out, like, literally, we found a candy wrapper on the sidewalk, and it's tied to Trump collusion.
Yeah, let me read.
Any piece of evidence that they were
this
joking
is from
about being
Elizabeth
able to use.
Harrington, FBI, GOP national spokesperson. Mueller lawyer Jeannie Ray, who maxed out in donations to Hillary Clinton and represented the Clinton Foundation, had an agenda and was obsessed with getting General Flynn. So you can look at, this is Barnett here. Again, we talked about Barnett when he's talking about her. Barnett was asked about the link message, and it goes on to say, Ray was obsessed with Flynn and Russia, and she had an agenda. Ray told Barnett she would look forward to working together. Barnett told Ray they would not be working together. Barnett expressed his concerns about Ray to Redacted. Barnett told Redacted that he wanted nothing to do with the Razor investigation. And so that's a bombshell coming. That's a legit bombshell coming out. I like when we actually have legit things coming out. Let's see. We got a lot of stuff coming out. Let me make sure. Kimberly Strassel. Okay, per Catherine Herridge, who is at CBS right now. Love her so much. Love her. Kimberly Strassel, amazing journalist. She's just so on spot. She's so good. An extraordinary. So Christopher Steele's main source for the dossier, ? He was the subject of a nearly 2-long FBI counter intel investigation from 2009 to 2011 under suspicion of him being a Russian spy and a threat to national security. So they take the threat to national security and they make him the source to go after our president. So yes, he is a threat to national security.
Yep. That's good.
Early in Obama administration, Subsource reportedly attempted to recruit 2 individuals connected to an influential foreign policy advisor to Obama. Said that if they got jobs in the administration and access to classified information, he could help them make a little extra money. FBI says he had previously contact with the Russian embassy and Russian intelligence officers. Thanks to Paul Sperry, we know the name of the subsource and that he was for a period of time at Brookings Democratic think tank. But here's the real kicker. Per these documents that have come out from Lindsey Graham, the FBI knew about this prior investigation into their source in December 2016. It knew it was relying on information from a suspected Russian spy who actually wanted Clinton to win, to go after a sitting president. The same FBI said to be concerned about the Russian interference in the election was using information from a suspected Russian spy. So the only people not working with the Russians was Donald Trump. So yes, Russia and Russians and Russian spies tried to hack our election. And they were doing so for Hillary Clinton and to get Donald Trump out. So who's going to jail? In the name of Jesus. To probe a presidential campaign. This is it's hard for me to put the weight of this into words because the left has done so much to damage the credibility of words.
That's true.
What do words have meaning? Okay. So when I say there was a presidential coup at the top from Obama to our DOJ, to the FBI, to Brennan, to Clapper, these guys who are running national intelligence, everybody was working to get Trump out. And you have to ask yourself, what are they trying to cover up? Because it wasn't about Trump being a Republican. He was the wrong Republican. He wasn't Jeb Bush. He wasn't John Kasich. Okay? And I don't even think he was a Ted Cruz. He was so far out of the orbit of Washington, D.C.
Well, you're saying what were they trying to cover up? I think the real question is, what were they trying to do? And I think, unfortunately, the hand that they had to play, and they didn't have a choice to play, which was COVID, okay, has exposed Agenda 21 to the everyday man, whereas it was something that we talked about and you guys were well aware of. Yeah. Event 201.
It is all connected.
It's all connected to the globalist operation, which is why they are steamrolling ahead with it, regardless of whether they literally had to throw up their hands and say, you know what? It doesn't matter if Biden gets elected. It doesn't matter if Trump's president. Right. We are going forward with the global reset with or without the president of the United States in our pocket.
So most importantly, let's see. The same FBI claiming Carter Page was a Russian agent was making that case based on info from a suspected Russian agent. Most importantly, it never told the FISA court about this investigation into their source. It withheld that information and continued re-upping its applications to surveil Page and the campaign. It vouched for information supplied by a suspected Russian agent. The name of this subsource and the realization of the FBI's prior suspicions should have ended the entire probe.
Mm-hmm.
We're done. No Mueller. No special investigation. No nothing. Instead, the FBI doubled down. It hid things from the court and kept going. This again raises urgent need to know who knew what and when, and people wonder why Durham is looking into all of this. Also, extra credit question. Why isn't Mueller's job to find sources of Russian disinformation? How do you miss the guy potentially feeding it directly to the FBI? Finally, big credit to AG Barr and Lindsey Graham for their commitment to the truth and transparency. So we'll see how that ends up.
Now we're beyond the date for a lot of this stuff that they're able to do because the election is they had like that 60 day, whatever, 50, I don't remember how many days it was. So now they can't really do anything until after the election as far as,
well, this is what Bill Barr said. I'm not going to let the election stop me from pursuing criminal charges if I have to.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know he said that.
Yes,
Good
he
for
did.
him.
He did say that. All right. So do we want to go on to, I had a video, which I can't find, of Donald Trump talking about them. But let me go to some good news stories. Just kind of our
Are we going to
commercial
do
break.
the Texas Reloaded commercial break at some point?
We will.
Okay.
All right. So here we have a man's
online.
dying wish to speak to Donald Trump on the phone, and President Trump actually honored that wish.
What does he, Make-A-Wish Foundation now?
Yeah, he must be. He must be. I need you to stay on, keeping that going so it can be ready.
You just turned it off.
I did because it wasn't.
We don't have any juice or something. It's like literally just not wanting to. Let's see. Hang on.
We're in. We're good.
No, it didn't connect.
Oh,
it goes. It goes. Bling. You need to know the ding. You're not going to know your own children's cries if you can't even differentiate. See, that's different than the other one.
Okay.
Dun.
Between now and my expiration date. So, whatever. Either way.
Don't even talk about expiration dates.
Oh, no, I'm not. No.
You'll be surprised, you know, and I know my people. You're going to be surprised. I just sent you a little note, too. I wrote out a little note. So, I guess we sent it to your sister or whatever, but you'll get that. But I read a beautiful story about you, and I just said I want to call that man. That's my kind of guy.
Yeah. Mr. President, I through thick and thin, you know, there's been a lot of thicks.
Right.
And there's been a lot of thins.
Right.
I support you.
Wow, that's beautiful, man. We love you, Jay. We love you, man. And that's really beautiful. What you just said is, I won't forget it. I won't forget it. And,
So he's going to try and get some more top doctors on it. It sounds like Trump's just going to try and do whatever he can. That was really touching. Oh my gosh. That was so good.
I don't think people know that side of Trump. All right, here we have Trump talking about the big progressive corporations donating to BLM and should be spending their money helping Black families rebuild from these horrible left-wing riots.
It's good.
Communism. But this is the extreme socialist left. But beyond that, in my opinion, that's why the founders of the organization call themselves trained Marxists. And yet we have major corporations out of weakness or fear or whatever reason donating hundreds of millions of dollars to them. These are fools. These are fools. The big progressive corporations donating to BLM should instead be spending their money helping Black families rebuild from the from these horrible left-wing riots. Wealthy liberal hypocrites want to defund the police in our inner cities while living behind walled compounds. They're walled compounds. It's you got to see the way some of these people live. They live pretty well. You know, the funny thing is that if anything ever happened, they'd be the first to go. You know that, right? Let's go get these people.
Yeah, because the communists don't like
the wealthy. If we didn't learn anything from the French Revolution, and I think that's the problem, actually. They haven't been taught history, because if they were taught the French Revolution, then maybe they wouldn't be doing this.
So we're going to talk about Breonna Taylor, and it's a really serious issue, and it's a really, it's a sticky issue, but
things are not as they seem.
The BLM, talking about Black Lives Matter, they stealth edited their website and got rid of their destruction of the nuclear family.
Right.
Get rid of, we want to get rid of size, gender privilege, and the parts where they talked about family units and coming together as a community, and they mentioned parents, mothers, and children,
but left fathers out.
But there's no dad, there's no fathers. They hate men, and as somebody said, they hate men. black men, and they only bring them out when one is shot by police to use them.
That's really powerful.
So they stealth edited their Marxist after Marxist blowback and a plunge in the American support. Hallelujah! Finally, this is why I know a lot of my friends are like, "Why do you keep posting about political stuff on the Facebook?" And I just want to see puppies. Well, me too. But guess what? Cities are burning, and Louisville ain't that far from here. Okay. A new Associated Press poll finds that there has been a massive 15-point swing and that most Americans are now hostile to the Black Lives Matter protests, which have gone wildly out of control. You really can't keep a fire under control.
I'm going to make a Facebook post to all your little friends who have been saying, why do you have to keep posting about political things? I just want to see puppies. I'm going to say, you are the people that sit down to your 10-course meal or go out to eat and drop $100 and don't, like, while literally your next door neighbor is starving and you know about it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I can't sit here and be happy about puppies, and not, you can be happy about the puppies. Listen, sit down and eat your meal as long as you're feeding the starving kid. Watch your puppies as long as you're making the posts that make people aware of the things that are going on that are destroying our nation.
Just put in your head in the sand. The poll from the Associated Press, Public Affairs, finds that 44% of Americans disapprove of the protest in response to the police violence against Black Americans, while 39% approve. It says most people are turning away from it, and the numbers are clear. Supporting Black Lives Matter is a losing election issue. Only when Democrats began to realize that a few weeks ago did they finally denounce the bedlam that has plagued American streets since the end of May. All of this may explain why BLM scrubbed its What We Believe page from the organization website. Frankly, as American thinkers, Silvo Canto writes, we're surprised that it took that long. In other words, it's amazing that all of those Marxist and anti-family ideas, it literally said comrades, right, sat on the Black Lives Matter website for so long. Well, BLM is changing its image, and Jason Whitlock wrote, BLM's What We Believe page originally exposed the movement's heavy Marxist influence. The page called for the disruption of the nuclear family. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. No dads.
Dale says, who could support a political party that allows rioters and violent protesters to harass people who are simply trying to dine out or drive in their cars?
You see, that's a Marxist concept, and we've talked about this on our show. Libby Emmons at the Post-Millennial summarized the BLM agenda, writing that BLM espouses Marxist principles of communal children and the demise of the family. If you ever just want to just read something that's going to blow your mind, read Frederick Engels' The Origin of the Family, where he goes on this really weird archaeological discovery of how, like, back in the day, women just like had sex with like all kinds of people, and because you could only tell where the child was coming from because the mother who gave birth of the child, it was maternal lines, not paternal lines. And it was just like these women who got together, these strong women communities that raised the children together. And that's written by two dudes who didn't want to care for their kids. Women will have sex with you. You raise the babies. It's all good. And then you have these lesbians getting together being like, so like hating themselves because Marx and Engels, like, they were the biggest misogynists on the face of the planet. They were gross men. And we talk about Karl Marx's gross man having boils all over his body. Okay. People are finally looking beyond BLM's catchy slogan and evaluating. I was listening to another person give some quotes from Karl Marx and how he would just go like, he said he loved French women and he would just, if he could, he would just retire and just have sex with all the French women he could. Like, he was a misogynist. He was like, people like, oh, grab him by the blank, Donald Trump. And then they're like, oh, but Marxist ideology is no big deal. Marxist men are awful. Okay. And then Marxist women, you just have to wonder, why do you hate yourself so much? People are finally looking beyond BLM's catchy slogan and evaluating the actual agenda. The agenda is Karl Marx's anti-God, pro-communism political theory. BLM scrubbed its What We Believe page because smart people are distancing themselves from BLM. Thank you, Jason, for pointing that out. What continues to amaze is that this information sat on the website during all the riots and the violence, yet no one in the media ever asked anything about the people behind BLM or all those statements. Remember, Black lives don't matter to them. All Black lives don't matter to them. Only those killed by white police.
That's so true.
Because Black babies, they don't matter. Black on Black crime. Look what all the crime happening in Chicago. Black police officers, kids being born into families without dads. They decry school choice, which helps kids get educated in better schools. It's just absolutely insane. So when somebody says Black lives matter, you don't have to say all lives matter. Say, this is even more powerful. All Black lives matter. Black babies in the womb matter. Black children needing a father in the home matter. Black police officers matter.
And those killed or suffering the consequences of Black on Black crime
matter. Things are starting to change, as Jason Whitlock notes. This summer, while American sports leagues were swallowing Black Lives Matter pills and embedding their slogans onto fields and courts, the Premier Soccer League distanced itself from BLM. I think the majority of the UK have now had enough of that organization. A new, inclusive, and politically neutral anti-racism movement to follow and get behind is much needed. Black people's lives matter. The divisive Black Lives Matter organization does not. So good for them. Love that. All right. So we talked about that. Let's see. This is a little commercial break. So a 12-year-old Louisiana boy has been suspended after a BB gun was spotted in his room by his teacher during one of the Zoom calls. His brother comes in, trips over this BB gun. The kid sits it up, sits it next to his chair. Kid gets suspended because he brought a gun to school.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. He brought a gun to school.
No, that's not really what they said. He brought a gun to school.
No, it is. It really is. Maury Harrison, 9, who attends Woodmere Elementary School in Harvey, has been suspended because the teacher spotted a BB gun in his room. As with the Colorado case, Louisiana school officials, that in Colorado, a school sending police to a home of a 12-year-old boy because he showed a toy gun inside of his home. Okay. So now we have this Louisiana school officials defended this new case of virtual insanity.
Here's the thing. Virtual learning is going to have a lot of obstacles to start with. You can't just suspend the student, all right? What you can do is now issue a statement that says, for those unaware, we cannot have any kind of gun, whether it is a toy gun or a BB gun or a real gun, in the shot of a Zoom call while the child is attending online courses. That's what they have to do. You have to issue a warning if a precedent has not already been set.
So his brother comes in and he's trying to, the older brother's trying to take an English test. And his younger brother comes in, he trips over the BB gun. He picks the older brother, Kai Murray, places the BB gun by his side, continues on with the test. The teacher calls out to him, but Kai Murray did not answer because his sound was muted. It's really hard to do Zoom and not know if so he was suspended. The Louisiana Department of Education listed the incident as possesses weapons prohibited under federal law. Obviously, there's nothing prohibited in the possession of a BB gun, which is not even defined as a firearm since it's air powered. Okay. So, however, these policies were written. Remember, these policies were written for the appearance of such toys as toys or weapons in school, not in the home, where they are perfectly legal. Like many thousands of parents, Nyron Harrison told NOLA that he bought a BB gun and taught his son how to use it safely. It was not loaded, and Ka Murray appeared to have taken possession to keep it away from his younger brother, and then continued with his test. Even if the teacher had thought it might be a firearm and appropriately called the police for the child's safety, it was shown not to be a firearm, and there's no need for a suspension.
This is insane.
We have been dealing with these no tolerance things for a very long time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure it will all work out in the end, but I would like to see that teacher and whoever suspended the student fired.
Yes. By the way, if you want to go on vacation, go to Florida. Ron DeSantis has lifted all restrictions.
Nice.
COVID restrictions.
We could go to the beach if we weren't working like mad people.
Yes.
Leah wants to go to the beach so bad, and we can't.
It's
A, because of masks, and I'm not going places where I have to wear one. And B, because we just can't ever travel anywhere because we work too hard. But we could if we wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, we could if we wanted.
That's good news.
Yeah. All right. So, Breonna Taylor.
This story is unfortunate, and I want you guys to understand something. They have done a disservice to this young lady by using her death falsely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's one thing to use the death of someone rightfully.
Mm-hmm.
It's another to use the death of someone wrongfully. And I, even though she was mixed up and involved with some bad people, okay, it's a life that was lost.
Yeah.
And that should be respected. And I feel like they are not respecting.
So let me give you a few updates. You have the Attorney General of Kentucky, Daniel Cameron, has come out with finally the investigation into what happened, how it unfolded, were the police at fault, and while when the police showed up, they did knock, okay, and the boyfriend fired on the cops. We talked about this. And then the cops fired back. All right. After Attorney General Daniel Cameron announced that the grand jury declined to file charges against the police officers involved in the shooting of Breonna Taylor, civil unrest has broken out in the streets. 2 police officers were shot and miraculously survived. Many felt that the single indictment was one indictment on Detective Brent Hankinson. That was based on charges related to endangering Taylor's neighbors because he shot. They felt like he shot too many shots. He fired his gun too many times.
It was like almost reckless shooting.
They said because of 10 shots. Now, he shot only after his partner was shot. How many shots are too many?
Right.
When there's gunfire coming at you and you have one officer down.
Yeah.
Okay. So
here's the thing. I gotta tell you something. If you watch any Wild Wild West movie, okay, and you got 2 people in the streets, right, and they are shooting it out, the town is supposed to go and take cover because it's gonna get crazy. They are acting like these police officers went in just like with machine guns and mowed people down. I would be in the riots with you.
So the 2 officers were justified in firing their weapons because Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, fired 1 shot at them first because of the fact the officers were acting in self-defense. When we got up in line, I knocked on the door, says Sergeant John Mattingly, told investigators, according to the New York Times. Our intent was to give her plenty of time to come to the door because we said she was probably there alone. Banged, no response. Banged on it again. No response. At that point, we started announcing ourselves, police, please come to the door. Prior to the day before the charges, it was actually widely reported that police officers didn't announce themselves before barging into Taylor's home. Daniel Cameron said, however, yesterday, I'm going to play some clips, that police did knock and announce themselves before coming in, which a civilian witness has corroborated. It's worth noting. However, that wasn't until 12:35 a.m. on March 13th when officers began their raid. Nevertheless, Taylor's boyfriend, Walker, maintains neither of them could hear who was at the door. When it's past midnight and a person wakes up frazzled and someone is banging at his or her door, it's reasonable to grab a legally owned gun. So they did hear banging at the door, but they weren't sure who it was. Walker told police he assumed the person at the door was Taylor's ex-boyfriend. who was at the center of the criminal drug charge. When police entered, Walker said he fired to protect his girlfriend. She was not sleeping. She was in the hallway, and the police fatally shot back. Much of the blame and justification for civil unrest is falling on the police officers and the life and death decisions they made in that moment. The assumption, it seems, that unless the officers are charged with murdering Taylor, there's no justice. However, instead of blaming the police officers for acting in self-defense, a better question surrounds law enforcement's decision to raid her home in the first place, especially with a no-knock warrant so late at night. It was after midnight. Yes, the investigation found the police did knock and announce themselves, but when people are half asleep inside, the margin for error or fatal misunderstanding is high. Another important question is to why the police weren't wearing body cameras that night. In 2020, in June, 2 months after her death, Louisville City Council voted unanimously to enact Breonna's law, which bans no-knock warrants and requires police to wear body cameras. So with that,
they did have a warrant for her arrest. From what I understand, isn't that correct?
They were serving a warrant for her. Yes,
right.
yes. They were serving that warrant. So here we have. Let me play Daniel Cameron here. A couple clips from him, if I got them up here. I have a couple. Where are you, Daniel? It's like I have them and then I close them out or something. All right.
Say that a little louder. I think I got.
And we're off again.
Just. Oh my gosh! Well, you talk so long in between these things,
and then it goes on here.
Oh my gosh!
All right, Kentucky AG Daniel Cameron, who's actually a Republican, by the way, is on. He says it's unlikely that there will be additional prosecutions from the night Breonna Taylor was killed.
Did the grand jury ever consider manslaughter or reckless homicide or those kinds of charges? And if not, please explain why. And do you anticipate any other charges, or is this it?
I won't get into the specifics again of the proceedings themselves are secret, but what I will say is that our team walked them through every homicide offense and also presented all of the information that was available to the grand jury. And then the grand jury was ultimately the one that made the decision about indicting Detective Hankinson for wanton endangerment. I think that in terms of what happened the wee hours of March 13th, in terms of that particular or specific date and what happened that night in the apartment, I think it is unlikely that there will be any additional prosecutions that come from that event itself.
So he was really well versed. He knew what he was talking about. We'll play another clip, but here's this clip went viral. So even before I think the charges were given or anybody knew anything, Louisville had truckloads.
You're not even saying it right now. It's Louisville. It's helpful to say Louisville so they know. It's the locals that say Louisville.
Really. I like Louisville.
Yeah, I like Louisville is better. I like it as well.
Louisville,
watch this.
Abolish the police signs. Who rented the U-Haul trucks? Somebody says it was the secretary for George Soros. Abolition Now with the Antifa. These are, and Christopher Wray would say that this does not exist. Right. That Antifa as an organization does not exist.
Right.
And they were dropping all kinds of stuff off. As Trump pointed out, they throw cans of tuna.
What?
Cans of tuna and yeah, he's like a bumblebee tuna.
MPD's Criminal Interdiction Division. Federal law enforcement partners are conducting that investigation. Sergeant Mattingly and Detectives Cosgrove and Hankinson had no known involvement in the preceding investigation or attainment of the search warrant. They were called into duty as extra personnel to effectuate the service of the search warrant. They only had information conveyed to them during their prior briefing. Evidence shows that officers both knocked and announced their presence at the apartment. The officer statements
right
about their announcement.
I'm really curious. So when you read, and I don't know if you can remember or not, when you read that there was a civilian, a bystander that corroborated
neighbor heard the knock.
Did they just hear the knock, or did they hear that they said that they were the police? Because if the neighbor heard that they announced that they were the police and the people inside are going, we didn't know who it was, we were half asleep. If the neighbor can hear that it's the police, then they ought to be able to hear that it's the police.
Corroborated by an independent witness who was near in proximity to apartment 4. In other words, the warrant was not served as a no-knock warrant. When officers were unable to get anyone to answer or open the door to apartment 4, the decision was made to breach the door. After breaching the door, Sergeant Mattingly was the first and only officer to enter the residence. Sergeant Mattingly identified 2 individuals standing beside.
So, and you can watch his whole press conference. But the point is that it was not served as a no-knock warrant. So here's the video talking about.
They didn't go in, kick down the doors, and start shooting like the mainstream media would have you believe.
Right.
Wow. And that's why I'm going to win the state of Minnesota. I'm going to win Minnesota. That's right.
This is from Minnesota.
But you remember that beautiful day? It was 10 days late. You had these people from CNN and other places. These are friendly protests. It's a lovely thing to say. As he's getting rocks and cans of tuna fish. They go out and buy tuna fish and soup. You know that, right? Goya, I hope. Goya, he's great, isn't he? Good guy. They go out and buy Goya because they throw it. They throw it. It's the perfect weight. Tuna fish, they can really rip it, right? And that hits you. No, it's true. Bumblebee, brand tuna. And you can throw that sucker, you can put a curve on it, you can do whatever that you want. Sorry. And the cops in Chicago, they're going like this. It was terrible. And they're not allowed to fight back. They're not allowed to fight back. These guys, if they fight back, nobody's going to be there, a very long throwing thing. But they throw, but they're professionals. They're anarchists, and they're paid for by outside stupid rich people.
They're paid for by outside stupid rich people. That's my really favorite line of the night.
Oh my gosh.
They're paid for by outside stupid rich people. All right. So here we have, that's St. Pete. Antifa banners in the suburbs. I'm sorry, they're saying an F-bomb there.
But at least they got some rhythm with this one. A lot of times it's not. It doesn't make you, you know what I mean? A lot of times you're like, oh, you don't have anything better than that?
That's true. That's true. All right. So while you're here, here's another commercial break. So here we have liberals watching Biden's town hall event.
Okay, Joe. Answer these questions and then get off stage.
A single thing, including having a postmaster general who still doesn't know who dismantled those machines, who ordered picking up those places to mail your ballots. I mean,
mail boxes.
It's a mailbox, Joe. It's a mailbox.
That is so funny. That's parody.
It is. And here's really another commercial break. You guys remember the McCloskeys?
Yeah.
Well,
I still see her with her little handgun.
No, but here's the thing. Okay, you do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
A liberal filmed them. They're being followed at the printer.
What?
At a printer. They're picking up their Christmas cards to hand out.
Abolish the suburbs! You are a terrorist. No mask? You think pointing guns at protesters is nice? It's fun? You think you're cool? Abolish the suburbs!
Abolish
the suburbs!
It's embarrassing.
Abolish the suburbs! Fuck you and your guys!
They had 1,000 of these printed.
Thing.
And he gets out of his car because he's going to give her a Christmas card.
Fuck you!
I'm sorry for the swear
Don't
words.
come near me! Don't come near me! Abolish the suburbs! Come near me! Fuck you!
Sorry.
Don't come
You keep
near
repeating
me.
the F-bomb.
So they, you don't have to see it, but they
No, we I don't know if they can see that.
They have
I'm
Christmas
sorry I yelled.
cards of themselves. You can't see it.
They can kind of see it. That's them.
Of themselves with the guns.
No.
They had 1,000 printed.
These people have
They're
a sense of
signing
humor.
them and handing them out.
Get out of town.
1,000 printed.
I love them. I want to be their friends. Oh my goodness.
Abolish the suburbs.
Have a nice New Year.
Abolish the
Their
suburbs.
Christmas cards. Those are their Christmas cards.
No. Oh my gosh, that is the best thing I ever saw in
Life goals, be them.
I want to be them.
Be them.
I want to be them.
Yeah.
Oh man. They are no. They are such tough people. You don't even know. Oh my God.
So Charles
What's
Barkley and good old Shaquille O'Neal has they have weighed in on the abolish the police.
Okay.
To really be careful when we, I hear these fools on TV talking about defund the police and things like that. We need police reform and prison reform and things like that. Because you know who ain't going to defund the cops? White neighborhoods and rich neighborhoods. So that notion they keep saying that, I'm like, wait a minute, we just going to leave. Who are black people supposed to call? Ghostbusters? When we have crime in our neighborhoods, we need police reform. Like I say, white people, especially rich white people, they're always going to have cops. So we need to stop that defund or abolish the cops crap.
And we started this.
Who are they going to call? Ghostbusters?
That was really well said, my friend.
Who are they going to call? Ghostbusters?
Oh my gosh, so valid.
It's bad the young lady lost her life. But, we do have to take into account that her boyfriend did shoot at the cop and shot a cop. So, like I say, even though I'm really sorry she lost her life, I don't think that we can just say we can put this in the same situation with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. I just don't believe that.
He's gonna get fired. Can they cancel him?
I don't think you can cancel. I don't think you can cancel Charles Barkley. I just really
feel
really don't think you can.
They might try though. Like you can't say that kind of stuff. Do you know how many people watch the Sports Center?
Yeah. So there were 2 shootings. 2 police officers shot during.
So we're back to Louisville.
Yeah. Shots were fired, and Donald Trump had said praying for the 2 police officers that were shot tonight in Louisville. This was on September 23rd. The federal government stands behind you and is ready to help. And Manhattan had protests. You had shut it down in New York City over this thing. You had if Breonna don't get it in D.C. You had this D.C. protest for her, whatever. And then in Denver, Colorado, BLM in Denver, Colorado, and then a cop shot in Louisville. National Guard actually showed up in Louisville, and the FBI was there in Louisville, and looks like some fires in Jefferson Square Park in Louisville. So I don't think that you guys have to see all of the window smashings, all of the destruction. I think you kind of get the idea if I say same old, but here we're just ready to just make some damage happen, and people coming
and
out.
that woman's probably about like ready to be like, dude, Black Lives Matter, I'm with you all, please don't destroy my business, like I'll get on my knees. I'm just saying, like, they don't care. They don't care where you stand. They don't care if you're on their side. They just want to destroy.
Yeah, just destroy.
Steal, kill, destroy. That is literally what the devil, that's his mantra. He came and he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And that's what these people do. They steal, they kill, and they destroy. It's unbelievable. Tucker had a segment on where he was kind of wondering, well, why aren't these business people out there just sitting in front of their businesses defending themselves? And I don't remember who he had on, and they were like, dude, they're darned if they do, they're darned if they don't. Like they're forced to choose between defending their business and probably going to jail.
Yes.
I'd lose my business before I went to jail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. There was one viral video, and I'll probably get to it later, where not in Louisville, but a Prius was chased down and the driver was actually arrested. We'll get to that in a second. But we have some good news.
I like good news.
Trump has taken 2 major hits to critical race theory. President Donald Trump signed an executive order on Tuesday to stop funding the federal government contractors who hold critical race theory training sessions, which is awesome. So this order will prohibit federal agencies and federal contractors from conducting training that promotes race stereotyping, for example, by portraying certain races as oppressors by virtue of their birth. White people, basically. In the executive order titled Executive Order on Combating Race and Sex Stereotypes, he wrote that many people are pushing an ideology that is a different vision of America that is grounded in hierarchies based on collective and social and political identities, rather in the inherent and equal dignity of each person and individual. This ideology is rooted in a pernicious and false belief that America is an irredeemably racist and sexist country, that some people, simply on account of their race or sex, are oppressors, and that racial and sexual identities are more important than our common status as human beings and Americans. The president provided a number of examples of critical race theory trainings, which included a seminar recently held by the Treasury Department that promoted a message that virtually all white people, regardless of how woke they are, quote, contribute to racism. The same seminar was found to have told small group leaders to encourage employees to avoid the idea that Americans should be more colorblind or let people's skills and personalities be what differentiates them.
Wow.
That is racism.
They're teaching racism in the name of trying to criticize racism.
Another example, the Sandia National Laboratories, a research lab and a federal entity, was found to have stated in training materials for minority males, white males, that an emphasis on rationality over emotionality was a characteristic of white males. The training materials also asked trainees to acknowledge their privilege to each other.
It's unbelievable.
I'm privileged. That's racism. That's racism.
And we have friends, like people that we love and respect, that don't get that's how that it
Here's
is.
the
They
thing.
have a problem when we
What?
say
You don't understand black people. Black people get this. When somebody says, I'm privileged, it gets into their soul and it makes them prideful and arrogant and actually makes them feel
so when
superior
you
to
teach
you.
like Janie that she is more privileged and you're just trying to tell her like she needs to shut down her privilege because she's just given so much more.
No, you're making her
than
have
like
white
Billy.
privilege.
It's like, no, you have just now taught this child something that was not within her, but now she is going to walk with her head held a little bit more higher.
When she's
like
around black people.
I am privileged. I am more than you. I just am. And I can't help it.
Remember the Smithsonian Institution? Where they had the museum's graphics asserted that concepts such as objective, rational, linear thinking.
Oh my gosh,
hard
that was
work,
the worst thing ever.
Being the key to success, and the nuclear family as the belief in a belief in a single God are aspects and assumptions of whiteness. So hard work
is not an aspect of being a black person.
Objective, rational, linear thinking.
Black people are not objective, they don't have linear thinking.
The museum also stated that
that's what this museum, in trying to teach critical race theory and wokeness,
is great.
Is saying it's the most racist thing ever.
Remember, it said the museum also stated that facing your whiteness is hard and can result in feelings of guilt, sadness, confusion, divisiveness, and fear. So Trump says, all of this is contrary to the fundamental premises and underpinning our republic, that all individuals are created equal and should be allowed on equal opportunity under the law to pursue happiness and prosper based on individual merit. Trump said that the order that such trainings perpetuate racial stereotypes and division and can use subtle coercive pressure to ensure conformity to a viewpoint. Such ideas may be fashionable in the academy, but they have no place in programs and activities supported by federal taxpayers. His latest actions come after the White House announced an order earlier this month to stop taxpayer-funded critical race theory training sessions to government workers in various U.S. executive branches. He banned those efforts to indoctrinate government employees. And so I'm so excited about this. And I still have friends who think that Trump is a racist and a bigot. But critical race theory is actually
The
racist
only thing
and
that
bigoted.
in that Smithsonian museum like thing that they had put together that didn't show black people in a negative light and wasn't racist was saying that they like spicy food and white people like bland food. Like, even if you agreed that that was true, it gives a little bit of a positive light to black people. Okay, at least they like the spicy food, and white people like the bland food. Fine, whatever. But every other point that they had in that list showed black people in the worst light possible, saying this is just who they are, and white people don't understand that. You know, they're not respecting that, and they don't understand that there are differences and how this makes you worse because you're somehow superior. And it's just all so very strange and evil and racist. I can't believe any black person goes along with this stuff.
So Don Lemon is claiming after the Supreme Court battle,
we're going to have to blow up the entire system.
What happens? Everybody's thinking we're going to have to blow up the entire system. And you know what we're going to have to do?
No, I don't know.
You know what we're going to... Yes,
Yeah.
we're going to have to do?
You just got to...
Honestly, from what your closing argument is, you're going to have to get rid of the Electoral College. Because the people...
I don't see it.
Because the minority in this country decides who the judges are, and they decide who the president is.
You need a constitutional amendment to do that.
And if Joe Biden wins, Democrats can stack the courts, and they can do that amendment, and they can get it passed.
Well, you need 2/3 vote in the Congress and 3/4 in the state legislatures.
They may be able to do that.
Maybe. No matter what.
The constitutional amendment takes 3/4 of the state legislators and 2/3 of Congress, and it's all over Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying.
We have to get what I love about him coming out saying we have to get rid of the Electoral College, saying that the minority somehow controls something. Have you seen, if we get rid of the Electoral College, it's literally New York and California that decides everything. Always.
So he walked back those statements.
I woke up and I saw these headlines like, Don Lemon is calling for the abolishing the Electoral College.
Blow it all up.
But I was responding to you when you said we want people with integrity.
I wasn't even there.
No, but let me tell you, I don't care. But I was responding to you when you said we want people with integrity in office, and I said, well, then we're gonna have to blow up the whole system, right? Yep. But. And I said, man, here's what Democrats can do. Right. And I said, that's a danger. They can stack the court. But all of a sudden, I am calling for the abolishing of the Electoral College. And what else did they say? Oh, and that I'm a Democrat because I said we. I mean, the American people. Right. But anyway.
But listen, you forgot something very fundamental.
That you weren't there at all.
Oh, I wasn't even there, but I'll take your word for what happened. But I'll tell you this.
I lost my pen.
A black guy can't say that he wants to blow anything up right now. I mean,
what is wrong with you?
People are waiting for you to come and destroy their houses.
Oh my gosh!
With people like me, your kooky white friends.
I know, it's crazy, right?
So you can't say you want to blow stuff up because you're playing into the narrative.
So you can say that. You can say that. Whoa! You can say that, but I can't. See, I would get in trouble because then Don Lemon is joking about violence.
You have to. We have to mock it. We have to mock the intention to demonize people. You have to mock it. Because if you go at it straight, you give it too much dignity.
Yeah, but I usually don't give it oxygen.
You were serious, and we all just watched you seriously say, we got to blow up the system, and we have to get rid of the Electoral College. There was no mocking in there. You were, because Cuomo there was so serious. He's like, I don't see it. Like, there was no parody. There was no sarcasm in what either of them were saying. And you just came out looking like a bald-faced liar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you are.
Yeah, they actually tried to, they threw a flare into the library in Louisville. They blow up the whole system. I guess we're going to burn down all the books. Yeah. So, let's see. Do you guys remember, I know this is kind of a little commercial break here, but 2 kids were suspended because they ran on 9/11 with a thin blue line and a thin flag and a thin red line, EMS and police onto the field.
Fire and EMS.
Well, those kids are from our neck of the woods.
We
Little
could
Miami
probably
High
get
School.
there in 25 minutes.
And I drive past the high school all the time when I go get chicken feed. And I know the people in Little Miami school district. And Trump actually brought them at an Ohio rally, brought those 2 football players up to the front.
Wow.
And honored them. And I don't know if you guys remember, this is what they got suspended for. So these 2 kids. So they got suspended, but it was walked back. So one player, Brady Williams, whose father is a police officer, said he wanted to honor all cops who lost their lives on 9/11. And Gerard Bentley, whose father is a firefighter, carried the thin red line to wave at the game.
If we cannot honor police and fire on 9/11, we pack it up and go home. Forget America. All of our UK viewers, bring in the Brits, send the redcoats, we surrender. Okay? Like, if we cannot honor police and fire on 9/11, especially when your dads are service members for the police and the fire department, I mean, come on. Unbelievable.
Come up here, fellas. Come up. Come up here. Come up here. Secret Service is thrilled about this. See, these young kids can hop over the fence like it's nothing.
Let's let the masked children up to see the president. It's a nightmare.
They're good-looking kids. So, I want to congratulate you. You've become famous. They're going to go to Hollywood. They're going to become movie actors right now. Great. You feel good about it? Huh? How's your team doing? How's your team? How's it doing? Huh?
They're Little Miami. We know how your team's doing. No offense to Little Miami. They're not a heavily funded district.
Is your arm okay? Is your arm okay? That's cool. He really does care. He really does care. I think Trump's amazing. I think he's a funny guy. I think he's a fun guy. Here's some good news for you. Rick Leventhal was on Fox News Tuesday night as he discussed COVID-related deaths and the percent of those with serious comorbidities. And showing you that it's probably not as dangerous as you think.
There's no video.
We're gonna get down to it if we can. Last night on Fox News, let's get down to the video here.
That's got to be it right there.
Yeah.
Polls showed 42% of adults would definitely get the vaccine. Another 30% probably would. But this month, the number of definites was cut in half to just 2 out of 10. The FDA's beefed up standards mean a vaccine isn't likely, Shannon, before at least mid-November.
Okay, Rick, hopefully that will give people some added information if it helps them in making their decision. But we're hearing now tonight, there's more scrutiny about just what qualifies as a COVID-19 death as we have passed another very difficult milestone.
Well, last month, the CDC released figures showing the vast majority of people who were listed as dying from COVID-19, 94% of them had other morbidity conditions, on average 2 to 3 other potential causes of death. Now we have numbers from Milwaukee County that may be even more startling. As of this past Sunday, 410 out of the 422 deaths there attributed to COVID-19 occurred in patients with other underlying potentially deadly health conditions. That's 97% suffering from diabetes, heart disease, leukemia, colon and prostate cancer, and more. Most had 2 to 3 conditions. Some had 5 or 6 serious illnesses, but all of them were listed as COVID-19 deaths. Even if they weren't tested for the coronavirus, if they had symptoms, that was their listed cause of death. And COVID was never named a secondary cause or cause other. It was always the primary cause. Here's one example. Cause A, coronavirus. Cause other, heart failure, diabetes, Parkinson's, cardiovascular disease, renal failure. Remember, that's one patient. But in Milwaukee, per the medical examiner, every person who dies with COVID-19 dies from COVID-19, no matter how sick they already were. Shannon?
Right. Did you say people who weren't even tested for COVID-19 had that listed as their cause of death?
If the doctors thought they had symptoms of COVID, they listed COVID as the cause of death.
Okay. Very interesting report, Rick. Thank you.
She doesn't know how to react to that. All right. So I want to tell you guys something, because this is really important to distinguish here. And I want, because we have viewers, I'm sure, that are watching that have illnesses or have loved ones who have illnesses or are at a higher risk. Okay. So what people might be saying is, well, but don't their lives matter? Like, if COVID is essentially putting the nail in the coffin for these people, how can you be so cold-hearted? Here is the difference. Every death that has happened as a result of COVID-19, maybe pushing someone beyond the edge, like maybe they would have been able to live another 10 years. That would have been great. And then COVID cut their life short, and that's so tragic. We acknowledge that, but what we need to say...
I don't even think that's what it is. I think that...
Hang on, you can say that in a minute. That's fine. That's not my point. My point is, we have people, a vast majority of Americans, that are being fed the line that this disease could kill anyone, anywhere, anytime. And if we don't get a hold on it, the entire population could be wiped out. Mm-hmm. When in fact, that is not true. We are not saying that we shouldn't take measures to protect those that are at risk, but to act as if this is a disease that does not distinguish or differentiate, and it can just pull a completely healthy person off of the streets and boom, lay them flat. That's what we're telling people. Right. And it is that fear that has allowed the lockdowns and perpetuated the mask wearing and made people in their very homes terrified to leave.
Yeah, let me bring these numbers up for you, too, to bring you some more peace. Dr. Atlas on Trump's coronavirus task force team breaks down the real COVID numbers on Laura Ingraham. And I think I saw this live even last night. And I don't really watch Laura Ingraham.
Whereas any new flu or sicknesses, do you remember the swine flu? It's always going to attack the weakest people.
Susceptible to coronavirus. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I think that Dr. Redfield misstated something there. And
so you misstated last time.
I'm going to answer your question if you let me finish. The data on the susceptible that he was talking about was his surveillance data that showed that roughly 9% of the country has antibodies. But when you look at the CDC data state by state, much of that data is old.
Who are we to believe?
You're supposed to believe the science, and I'm telling you the science.
So he's not telling us science.
I'm telling you the science, and that's the answer. And if you want to look up all the data, you're free to.
Americans are looking for the best information right now.
Yeah, and I'm giving you the best information.
That was a perfect exchange. White House COVID advisor Dr. Scott Atlas joins me now. Dr. Atlas, thanks for joining us tonight. Why was it so important to correct that reporter's line of questioning?
Well, thanks for having me, Laura. You know, it's very difficult these days. Honestly, I just want to say I empathize with the American people who have been told conflicting information from a variety of sources, some of whom should know all the facts, but not everybody knows the data. Not everyone's hands-on with reading the data. And the media has done a poor job at explaining, you know, allowing the data to be brought forward. Having said that, you know, the facts are that people like me are reading as much as we can. We're trying to do the best we can because the truth is critical here. We're in a pandemic, and it's been a tragedy, and 200,000 people have died. On the other hand, the truth has, you know, the facts have evolved since this started. This is not March. We know a lot about this disease. We know who to protect. We know who has high risk, and we know who does not have high risk. And when you get facts that are sort of partial truths, I think it's very damaging. The American people are very afraid. No one wants to be afraid. And the way to calm fear is to actually know the data and explain it very clearly and logically.
And Dr. Atlas, I know you referenced this in this exchange, but there are other types of immunity that we have, we humans have, and one of them is T-cell immunity, which could protect against this coronavirus. Could you explain that very quickly for us so people understand that? We don't currently test for T-cell immunity, but a lot of my medicine cabinet thinks we should be, because that would allay a lot of fears.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's basically two broad categories of immunity. One has to do with B cells, and that's antibodies, and the other is T cells, and that is actually an immunity that lasts longer. And it turns out that antibody tests are done, and we see how many people have antibodies, but antibodies are transient. They only last for months, usually. And what we see here is that we make an assessment of how many people have been exposed by doing this this test for antibodies, but it turns out the literature has shown that there is a lot more than that population that is actually resistant to the infection because of either T-cell response from this infection or a T-cell immunity from a related similar virus. And this is a very important, because the statement that 90% of people are still susceptible would make me afraid if I was one of those 90%.
Exactly.
But it's actually untrue. And when you look at all the data, whether it's from Sweden or Singapore or La Jolla or University of Washington, all over the country, and now we see it from Japan, where the most of the immunity for this virus is felt to be due to T-cell immunity, and it explains a lot. It explains a lot about perhaps why children have very, very low risk from this. It explains perhaps why people in Asia didn't have as much of a problem because they had prior coronavirus exposure.
Bingo.
It really is a story that's evolving here.
Yeah.
But we need to understand it because we are not all susceptible to the infection, and we know now it looks very likely that at least 3 times that number of people with antibodies on testing, have immunity, and perhaps even more. It depends when you do the antibody test, for instance, because I said it's transient. So
Exactly.
even the CDC, if I can say, go ahead, Laura.
Now, we just have to move along. I want to put this up. We talked about it briefly last night, but this full screen that I'm about to put up is very important because you're right. There's still a lot of people who are afraid out there. Here are the survival rates for different age groups. The best estimates at present. These are government numbers. So from ages 0 to 19, the survival rate, if you get the infection, is 99.997%. Ages 20 to 49, 99.98%. 50 to 69, it's 99.5%. Even if you're over 70 or older, the survival rate is 94.6%.
That's huge.
This is not to say it's still not a horrible tragedy. It is. And how many people died? It is a horrible tragedy. But those statistics, do they not
never put
Dr.
those out
Atlas,
there.
that schools should be open, sports should be played, and we've got to get back to normal life here. And people just don't even know these stats.
Yes, and I know, and this is a failure, in my view, of the public health officials who have not come forward with all the knowledge that we have, like I said, that we've learned. The disease is very, very low risk for children. It's extremely low risk, other than those few children that have some sort of an underlying condition. It's low risk for young adults, like college students, extremely low risk. And this data is known, it's proven all over the world. And
and even at a plus 70, it's over almost 95% survivability. What really gets me is that most people that have an underlying illness, already know they don't want to get sick from like the flu or pneumonia or anything like that, because they're already at a higher risk factor. This is something that they already know and they need to take precautions with. It's not, and this is where we need to understand, if we're going to shut down all of society over coronavirus, we have to shut down all of society over the flu.
Yeah.
We have to, which means that society will forever be shut down because the flu has been around for ages and we still don't have a cure for it. We don't have a vaccine that works against it.
Okay, Hunter Biden. 2 more stories and then
Where's
we gotta
Hunter?
sign off. Senate report finds Hunter Biden linked to prostitution or human trafficking ring, which follows news of his visits to the Hustler Club with I'm not going to get the other one. A report, as reported in November 2019 on Gateway Pundit by Cassandra Fairbanks, Hunter Biden's fondness for strip clubs continues to unfold. Revelations came out on Wednesday that not only did he impregnate a DC stripper, he also had toys with him and in New York City. A salacious report from Page 6 exposed how the former vice president's son sent a staffer to buy things for him.
Get out.
Yes, exactly. And now this, Hunter Biden sent thousands of dollars to people who appear to have been involved in the sex industry, including non-resident alien women in the U.S. who are citizens of Russia or Ukraine. This is from the Senate report. Hunter Biden sent thousands of dollars to people who appear to be involved in sex trafficking, according to a report released Wednesday by Republicans in the U.S. Senate. The report says unspecified records show that Biden has sent funds to non-resident alien women in the United States who are citizens of Russia and the Ukraine, and have subsequently wired those funds that they have received from Hunter Biden to individuals in Russia and the Ukraine. The records also note that some of these transactions are linked to what appears to be an Eastern European prostitution or human trafficking ring. The allegations are contained in a footnote in a section of the report that details potential criminal concerns and extortion threats involving former Vice President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden.
Right there. So even if we believe the whole sex workers are real workers line, okay? You know what I'm saying? Guys, I want to give you some hope. I love hope on our show. Okay. Throughout the history, okay, presidents don't get elected when their family members pay for prostitutes. Okay. When they're direct family members, like the children that they raised to be a citizen that's supposed to be upstanding. Okay. For the voters that have a problem with Trump from a moral standpoint, are you telling me that you can vote? They can't. Guys, this is
I
huge.
always thought that Hunter Biden would have already put Joe out of the race, like in the beginning before he even ran.
Well, and I kept thinking there's no way they're going to choose Biden because Hunter.
Right.
Just because Hunter.
Yeah. Oh, I always thought the same thing. All right. So top Republicans actually urged the FBI and the DOJ to investigate Hunter Biden's now $3.5 million Moscow payday. Now, there's a series of wire transfers from Russian and Chinese business people to Hunter Biden. After Senate Republicans released their Wednesday report, including $3.5 million wire from Russian billionaire whose late husband was the mayor of Moscow. Remember, everybody is working with the Russians but Trump.
Right.
Okay. On Thursday, Jim Jordan sent a letter to FBI Christopher Wray, who will do nothing. He needs to be fired, inquiring whether the agency has investigated the wire transfers. The letter follows up a Wednesday comment from Rand Paul, who told Fox News that he would be submitting criminal referrals to the Justice Department over the payments.
Love Rand.
A report that Senate Republicans released Wednesday detailed millions of dollars in transfers. This is not like $5 or $6. Millions of dollars to and from accounts linked to Hunter Biden and various business associates, including his uncle James Biden.
Oh my gosh.
The report, which cited confidential Treasury Department documents, said that the transactions had been identified for potential criminal activity. Republicans said that the payments raised criminal, financial, counterintelligence, and extortion concerns. According to the report, Elena Baturina, a Russian billionaire whose late husband was mayor of Moscow, wired $3.5 million in February 2014 to a company co-founded by Joe Biden. The report also said that Biden wired money to people linked to sex trafficking, prostitution in Eastern Europe. Why isn't this being investigated? Why is a Russian billionaire, a Russian oligarch, wiring Vice President Joe Biden's son $3.5 million? Do I get to get $3.5 million from the what for? The question is, what for? What for? What did he do for this woman? And Donald Trump tweeted that out yesterday. Russian billionaire Hunter Biden wired Hunter Biden $3.5 million. This on top of all the other money he received while Joe Biden was while Joe was VP crooked as can be, but fake mainstream media wants it to go away.
Hang on though, because I got a conspiracy theory that just hit me.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, but we got to hurry up.
I know, but I think it is possible that they have chosen, we kept thinking, how are they going to knock Joe out of the race outside of just killing him, right? I think it's possible that they chose Joe specifically to get the VP to be voted in. Like, I think that
and then Kamala takes the place.
Kamala takes the place as presidential candidate.
He's going to have to resign. He knows he's going to have to resign.
He has to step down. But I'm saying I don't even think that Biden. It's possible that they think if we have to, we'll pull Biden from the ticket and just push Harris to the top.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think Biden's in on it. He knows if he gets elected, he's just going to step down.
But what I'm saying is this kind of bombshell about Hunter Biden is so huge that it kind of disqualifies him as presidential candidate.
So he knows that.
So I'm saying I don't think he'll get. I'm saying it's possible. I'm throwing this out there that it's possible that they know that if the Hunter stuff does come out before the election, they're just going to incorporate that in their plan. Have Biden like, listen, I know you guys want me as president. I know my son's deeds don't reflect on me, but I think it's the proper thing to do, and I'm going to throw all my support behind Kamala.
Every single solitary,
could happen. If it does, you heard it here first.
Including your network and others have looked at this, have said there's absolutely zero basis to the accusation that I acted any way inappropriately or that my son did. Every major national, international, and local news operations looked into it has said it's a lie. This is the president who's flat lying. So there's not been a scintilla of evidence pointing out that anything is wrong. There's not a single solitary scintilla of evidence anywhere. There's not been one scintilla of evidence that my son ever interfered, that I ever asked me anything, that I ever got involved in anything. I mean, come on.
Come on, man.
So, these guys are amazing.
So you think that everything that happened was kosher?
You know there's not one single bit of evidence, not one little tiny bit, to suggest anything done was wrong.
Well, this is kind of a big bit.
But apparently, if here's the thing, I understand that he's saying that there's no evidence that any collusion was happening or any nefarious funds were going back and forth. Even if that was true, which we're finding out it's not, that just means that Joe Biden is okay with his son sending buku bucks to Ukraine and Russia for hookers. There's nothing wrong with that. I ain't got no problem with that.
Senator Chuck Grassley found millions of dollars in questionable financial transactions between Hunter Biden and his associates and foreign individuals, including the wife of a former mayor in Moscow. The suspicious financial transactions between Hunter Biden's firms and foreign nationals from Russia and China, including the CCP-linked Chinese businessmen, raised serious concerns. What's more, Hunter's seat on the board of the Ukrainian energy giant Burisma, while his father served as the Obama administration point man for Ukraine, actually worried State Department officials in 2015 and 2016. One official, Amos Hochstein, told the Senate Homeland Security and Senate Finance Committees that he said to then Vice President Joe Biden in October of 2015 that Hunter Biden's position on the board of Burisma enabled Russian disinformation efforts and risked undermining U.S. policy in Ukraine. He actually said that. Hunter Biden, now 50, joined Burisma's board in April of 2014, shortly after his father took over as Obama's administration chief liaison to Ukraine. As Ross notes, while the report does not produce direct evidence of wrongdoing by Hunter Biden, Republicans say the evidence paints a troubling picture of Biden receiving millions of dollars. Then you have John Solomon says perhaps the most explosive revelation was that the U.S. Treasury Department flagged payments collected overseas by Hunter Biden and business partner Devin Archer for possible illicit activities. The so-called suspicious activity reports flagged millions of dollars in transactions from the Ukrainian gas company Burisma's Holdings, a Russian oligarch named Yelena Buturina, and Chinese businessmen with ties to Beijing's communist government, the report said. Senate investigators have yet to determine if the FBI or others investigated the concerns. The Treasury records acquired by the chairman show potential criminal activity resulting from these transactions from Hunter Biden and his family. There were other people getting money and his associates with Ukrainian, Russian, Kazakh, and Chinese nationals. The 87-page report, including wire transfers to Hunter's uncle, James Biden. According to Republicans, a CCP agent from the CEFC China Energy Company has extensive connections to the Chinese government. And they were given, they wired $100,000 to the Biden law firm. Hunter Biden And Gawang Dong applied for a $100,000 line of credit under a shell company they formed called the Hudson West LLC. Biden, his uncle James's wife, Sarah Biden, accessed this account through credit cards and spent over $100,000 on what Republicans call extravagant items, plane tickets, hotels, restaurants, and items at Apple stores.
This is one of the creepiest pictures I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, dear God. Yeah.
What is that even going on there? I mean, I don't care if you're father and son. That's strange.
There is so
it's
much
one thing to have that
conflict of interest
moment,
here.
like as a moment, but to have somebody take a picture of it is creepy.
Yeah, and then there's one more bombshell here. FBI agent who discovered Hillary's emails on the Wiener laptop claims he was told to erase the computer.
Oh.
FBI agent John Robertson, the man who found Hillary Clinton's emails on the laptop of Anthony Weiner, claims he was advised by his bosses to erase his own computer. Former FBI Director James Coney, you may recall, announced days before the 2016 presidential election he had learned of the existence of the emails on the Wiener laptop. Robertson alleges that the manner in which his higher-ups in the FBI handled the case was not ethically or morally right. His startling claims are actually made in a book called October Surprise, How the FBI Tried to Save Itself and Crashed an Election. Told to erase the laptops. It was only after he spoke with the U.S. Attorney's Office overseeing the case, he claims that the agency took action. He told his bosses about the Clinton emails weeks before. Nothing had happened, or rather, the only thing that happened was his boss had instructed Robertson to erase his computer workstation. This, according to the Washington Post reports, was to ensure that there was no classified material on it,
Whatever.
but would also limit any trail of his actions taken during the investigation. The FBI did nothing about Hillary Clinton's emails for months. Robertson's assertions match up with the Wall Street Journal report in 2018, and that report text messages between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page indicated the former had been called to discuss the newly discovered emails on September 28th. Those emails wouldn't be revealed until former Director James Comey notified Congress about them on October 28th. And then a book written by James Stewart asserts that the FBI agents had referred to the discovery of Hillary Clinton emails as an blank moment. One agent admitted there were 10 times as many emails as Comey admitted to publicly.
Oh dear.
So, yeah, there's way more there. And a couple more things before we go.
Before you let me play the Texas Reloaded thing on my...
that light was both lights were going out.
It's fine. We might have just lost power. Still internet, so we're okay.
All right, so top news tomorrow. Most likely, Amy Coney Barrett. I was going to say it's Comey.
It's Coney, like a cheese coney.
Yeah, will most likely be picked. Now, I want to give you the case for Amy Coney Barrett here, from the Federalist. Amy Coney Barrett isn't just the best woman for Supreme Court. She's the best person, period.
Candace, we just lost lights, not anything else. We're good.
President Trump announced that he would nominate a woman to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. He said he'd been keeping Amy in his back pocket for just this moment. So this is the first time, this isn't the first time Barrett has been discussed as a possible Supreme Court nominee. And rightfully so. She's a brilliant legal mind, and she comes with impeccable credentials. She graduated first in her class at Notre Dame Law School, where she served as executive director of the Notre Dame Law Review. She then went on to highly sought-after clerkships with Judge Lawrence Silberman of the D.C. Circuit, and it is said that Anthony Scalia loved her.
Oh, absolutely.
Loved her as a clerk. Every other lawyer who clerked at the Supreme Court the same year as Barrett said she was a woman of remarkable intellect and character who treated with courtesy everyone who worked at the court and who worked collaboratively with her colleagues, even those whom she disagreed. Those clerkships jump-started a career as a brilliant legal scholar. Barrett has published numerous academic articles in prestigious journals such as the Columbia Law Review. She also taught at her alma mater for 15 years and was even named Notre Dame Law School's Distinguished Professor of the Year on 3 separate occasions.
Wow.
What's more, during her time as professor, Barrett was recognized by the Chief Justice who appointed her to serve on the U.S. Advisory Committee for the Federal Rules of Appellate Procedure. Then, in 2017, President Trump nominated Barrett to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, confirmed 55-43. The only critique Democrats could muster was a baseless attack on her faith, an attack Barrett handled with grace handled with grace, and which catapulted her into national attention, and even inspired the Conservative Justice Crisis Network to sell mugs emblazoned with Senator Dianne Feinstein's rival quotation, "The dogma lives loudly within you." But perhaps more importantly, the courage Barret demonstrated shows she has the fortitude to withstand the vicious confirmation fight to come. As a judge, Barret has never shied away from contentious legal questions. In fact, she's taken them head on. In one case, she criticized her court for treating the Second Amendment as a second-class right. So she is very good on the Second Amendment. She's going to be pro-life. As long as she doesn't recuse herself from anything, we're good, because she is a Catholic and she has...
she said, though, in that hearing that she does not allow her faith to influence her decisions.
Right. And another Barrett's colleague struck down an Indiana law that sought to prevent abortions based solely on the child's sex, race, or disability. Needless to say, Barret disagreed and voted to rehear the case. She has also written powerful defenses of due process protections under Title IX and the president's authority over immigration decisions. As a justice on the Supreme Court, Barret would stay true to her demonstrated commitment to the Constitution. Like Justice Scalia, Judge Barret is a dyed-in-the-wool originalist. She interprets the Constitution as written. As she put it, "We agree to live by the Constitution until it is lawfully changed, and judges can't change it. That's not democratic." I love that. I have goosebumps.
Good.
Any flexibility in the Constitution is given to democratic majorities to meet changing times by passing legislation. The Constitution isn't the pancetta that cures every societal problem. We have to trust our political branches to do that. In short, President Trump should nominate her. So,
come on. That line alone is enough for me to support her. That line alone.
Tomorrow,
if you want to change laws because of the times, you have to do so with the proper branches of government to change the Constitution. But we live according to the Constitution as it is written until it is otherwise changed.
Now,
and judges don't get to change it.
Tomorrow,
come on now.
The nuclear bomb of this you always stop me and
but I didn't. But you said nuclear like 20 times on the show today, and it was just this last time I had to correct
my
it.
sentence, and then I get my sentence out, and I can't get the whole thing out.
I
really just got to get it out.
Get it out
because we got to go.
Okay.
Tomorrow, a nuclear bomb is going to drop.
Yes.
Okay. I think you just hear me wrong because I say it that way every time.
Guys.
They know. Why do you make this into a thing every single show? If
but
I literally can't say it.
But
I literally can't say the word. And then you correct me, and we go back and forth, and mom hates when we argue on television.
But like for the past month, I haven't said it. At least the past month. And you say it in every single show multiple times.
I use the word nuclear every show.
Nuclear, yes. Nuclear family, nuclear this, nuclear bomb, nuclear. It's nuclear. It's a nuclear day. It's nuclear. Tomorrow, a nuclear bomb is going off.
Our lights are going off. All right, guys, we're going to sign off here.
I think you're just trying to do the whole Q movement. Like, that was my Q. That looks like an S.
All right, so play the video.
Okay, hang on.
Best political ad ever.
This is the best political ad I have ever seen in my entire life. So here, you're not going to want to miss this.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, will be to save Texas. To do so, you must recruit an exceptional team of congressional candidates. They must be courageous, patriotic, and absolutely fearless. Time is of the essence. The nation's future is dependent upon your success.
Yeah.
I don't have.
I didn't get a chance to do that one. Ran out of time. Sorry.
You still know how to fly one of these things? Dan Crenshaw. I'm putting a team together, Wesley. You in?
You know I wouldn't miss this for the world, right? Wait. I think August is going to want to come too.
You guys looking for a real pilot? Let me get cleaned up.
You're an F-22 pilot. What were you doing working under a helicopter?
I have no idea what I was doing, but typical Air Force fixing the Army's problems.
This guy, damn, bro. You could have just texted me, man. Why you gotta jump out of an airplane instead of the way
Because it's cooler to jump. Never mind.
And I want to thank these officers for a job well done.
Hey, Beth, when you're finished over there, Texas could use your help.
What the?
Hey, Tony, Texas has a better use for your talents.
Hey guys, who's next?
No.
I got this.
Oh my gosh, I loved that more than I can say. Like,
awesome.
I had to put it up on the big screen for everybody last night. Leah had already seen it, which I'm like, how are you holding out on me? Like, she just shared it on Facebook and I had to find it there. And I was just laughing to myself.
Yeah, Mom just, there was things I really didn't get to cover. I wanted to cover a lot of the ballots being, found in ditches and things like that. And a woman in Ohio being tased at a football game for not wearing a mask.
And she had asthma.
Yeah, she had an excuse.
They tased and arrested her.
Yeah.
They didn't even give her a warning. They just came like at her.
It was crazy.
It's unbelievable. Oh my gosh.
Right, I gotta go.
Okay.
So we gotta sign off.
All right. As always, guys, remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. We love you. God loves you. God bless. We'll be back here. You can go ahead and go. We'll be back here on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our European and UK news. I don't want you to miss the Revelation Red Pill Academy series that we are doing every Wednesday, usually either at 6:30 or 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can go back and you can watch all of the episodes leading up to the last one that we did on Wednesday. You're not going to want to miss it. It's mind-blowing. It gives you hope. It gives you truth. We are delving into aspects that you never would have considered applying to end times theory and eschatology and things like that. Just, it's like watching a documentary. Every Wednesday, Leah brings up something that's totally new, totally different, and just hits it hardcore. And I love this series. You guys, you have to be a part of it. It's going to change your life. Okay, so thank you to all of our moderators. Thank you to everyone that has been here. Builder Bear says, I think you guys are in Ohio, but have you heard about John James in Michigan? I think so. We may actually end up covering that. So let me ask Leah about it. I think, and one of the officers had no mask, says Debbie. It's ridiculous. It's so insane. Ellen says, if I was there and saw it, I would take my mask off and urge everyone else to do it. Then I would say, now you have to arrest us all. Very, very well said. Also, earlier, Resistance Chicks Patriot Gallery said something that was really pertinent that I wanted to repeat. She talked about the amount of deaths that we have through car crashes. It's insane. It's wrong. But we don't shut down all of society. So are you telling me that someone dying from COVID, their life matters more than someone dying in a car crash? Well, the argument could be made, well, we can't ban all cars because we need cars in order for society to run. But they shut down society for COVID. Think on that. All right, you guys, we love you. God loves you. God bless. And we'll be back here on Sunday at 1 p.m. Can't wait for this weekend's show. As always, you guys are a wonderful addition to our life. Thank you for being here. God bless.
I was cold all alone. No place for home every day. So afraid. But you called my name.